Welcome back to Live With, brought to you by Species Nutrition. I'm your host, Dave Palumbo, and tonight's guest of the evening is IFBB Wheelchair Pro, Kyle Roberts. It's my honor to welcome him to the show. How's it going, Kyle?
I'm doing very well. How you doing?
Excellent, man. You got a really big show coming up in less than 6 weeks now. The first ever Arnold Classic Wheelchair Pro Championships. You got to be super psyched that you're going to be up there on that stage with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Oh, absolutely. This has been a long time coming. I know I started in 2007, and I really didn't think there'd be a possibility for this, but there was a big push, and a dream is coming true.
Because you're a wheelchair athlete, obviously. You're at the pro level, the elite level of the wheelchair sport. Obviously, the Arnold Classic has got to be your guys' Olympia at this point. Let's go back a little bit in time and take us back to when you first had the injury. How did you wind up in that wheelchair? Give us the story.
I was 19 years old. I was going to LSU at the time, and it was right around spring break. But I decided that I'd pick up some extra shifts and work since a lot of people were going out of town. And my boss actually forced me to take a day off because I was already over my overtime hours. And I went and met up with a friend of mine in Biloxi, Mississippi, which they have a small beach near the casinos, and met up with some other people, and they brought us back to their family's camp, one of their summer camps, which is raised up pylons about 12 feet high. And as soon as I got there, just went outside and freak accident, leaned up against the railing with my back towards it, and flipped off 12 feet. And I broke my back, T10 vertebrae, which is about the belly button level, and crushed the spinal cord and became a complete paraplegic. 17 hours of surgery. They artificially put me into a coma because I was very violent. And that was basically it. And it took about a year after that, which would be, and I got paralyzed April 8th of 2004. In January of 2005, I had another back surgery to remove the hardware, the titanium rods, the screws, the cages to give me more mobility and flexibility. And after that, I started having these really, really bad migraines, really bad. And I thought maybe there was possibilities of spinal fluid leaking to my brain. Well, I called my neurosurgeon up. I asked him if he can set up an MRI, and he agreed to it. And I went and got my results, and he just told me that negative on the brain, on the spinal fluid, but I had a tumor. And the way he told it and explained it to me kind of left me shocked. I asked him, I was like, "Are you serious?" And he goes, "Yes, I'm serious." He goes, "You got a brain tumor." I said, "Well, what can I do?" He goes, "I don't know." I said, "Can I?" He's like, "Will I die?" He goes, "I don't know." I was like, "Well, how long do I have to live?" "I don't know." He's like, your brain's good with the spinal fluid. He's like, "I'll see you later."
Wow.
And I was left alone, and I sat in my car for hours in the parking lot. And I got out, and I was pissed. I was so upset. I wasn't sad or depressed, but I was so angry. And I took my medical records, my MRI, my scans, and I threw them into the highway. I didn't even want them. And that's when I called my mom, explained to her what was going on, called a good friend of mine, and basically just told him that I'm coming to pick him up and have a bottle of whiskey waiting for me. And that kind of led to some unforeseen and bad times in my life. I became alcoholic. I was drinking heavily enough to just forget about my problems. And it wasn't until I got a DWI.
Let me stop you. Let me stop you for a second,
Yeah.
Kyle. You had this injury. You lost the use of your legs, obviously. A year or so later, you get headaches. You go to the doctor. He tells you got a brain tumor. It doesn't give you any idea of what to do about it. So, anyone else out there who would, if you can relate to what Kyle's going through, I can understand why you would start drinking at that point, because at this point, you're like, how many times am I going to get kicked in the ass, so to speak? So you're out driving, which obviously I'm assuming you have the hand control car. You get pulled over, DWI. What does the cop say when he comes to your car and he sees that you don't have the use of your legs?
Oh, wow. It is a good story for you. I'm one of the few people that can actually say that I shut down the interstate. Uh, I ended up racing a gentleman that came up, and I had a fast car. I had a Monte Carlo SS, and we were speeding on the interstate, and he pulled off, and I decided I want to see how fast I can go. I ended up running off a Baton Rouge police officer off the highway, and and that led to the SWAT team coming out. The spike strip was put across the interstate. The interstate was shut down, and when I exited on the off ramp, they had they were waiting for me. Let's just put it that way.
Terribly drunk at that point?
Oh, I was shit faced. And
What happens? Did they pull their guns on you?
oh yeah, oh yeah. So it was a major that I ran off the road, and it was a female, and I got my windows down, and she's yelling at me, "Get out the car!" And I'm like, "I can't." And she's like, "Get out the car!" And I'm like, now I'm yelling. I'm like, "I can't." So she's like, "Why?" I said, "I'm paralyzed." She's like, "I heard that shit before." I was like, "What?" And she's like, "You're making me nervous." I said, "You're making me nervous." So she's like, "Put your hands at the window." I was like, "Put your gun away." So we're going back and we're bantering back and forth. And she's like, "I'm walking up." So and that's when I opened my door. I put the wheelchair out and I put my wheels out. And that's when she was like, "You really are paralyzed." I was like, "Yes, ma'am. I was trying to tell you that." So she walks up and she's just looking at me. I mean, oh, the glare that she was giving me, and my stupid self, I have an ice cold unopened beer, open beer in my cup holder, and I grab it and I drink it in front of her. So, so and she just looks at me and she goes, "Are you serious?" I was like, "Oh shit." So,
Drunk.
no, no, yeah, man. Oh, dude, I was wasted. I mean, I was so drunk that I probably thought I could walk. I mean, that's how bad it was. Man.
So you get arrested?
What's that?
You get arrested?
No, actually, I was very polite. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. I'm sorry. And I explained to him my story. I explained to him what was going on, and I wasn't trying to make an excuse. I did the breathalyzer, and they asked me, and they ran my record. You know, it's my first offense, and they asked me, "Can somebody come get you? We're gonna write you up, but we're not gonna bring you to the holding cell. If somebody can come get you, we'll let you go." I said, "Okay." So I called my family. They caravanned up, and that was a long ride home. And I had 12 counts against me.
Wow.
I mean, it was like a novel, man. It was ridiculous. I got home, and when I sobered up, I asked my dad. I was like, "Can you bring me back to Baton Rouge? I'd like to talk to the police officers who pulled me over and arrested me and got me out." He said, "Why?" I said, "Dad," I said, "I know what I did wrong." I said, "I know why I did it." I said, "I didn't care if I was going that fast and wrecked my car and hurt myself. But if I would have hurt somebody else, somebody innocent, I wouldn't be able to live with myself." I was like, "I want to go and thank those police officers for doing their job." And I went up there. I thanked them. They understood. They weren't upset. They were glad that they could do their job. And one of them was like, "Well, damn, man." He's like, "That was the sweetest thing anybody's ever done for us. I feel bad for writing you up now." I was like, "No, it's good." And I went through all the protocols with the substance abuse, and now I'm good. I learned how to get over it. I learned how to push forward. And bodybuilding was just one of those things that really allowed me to be focused and be competitive again. I'm too competitive to not have some type of sport or some activity where I can go against somebody.
Were you bodybuilding before the injury?
No, sir. I was doing more powerlifting. I was involved in athletics in high school and received a couple of injuries in football with multiple concussions. knee surgery, broken ribs, broken foot. Just I was a wreck, man. Um, and I lost all my scholarships and scouts my senior year with my final concussion. It made me dependent for a week. I couldn't read. I couldn't write. They had labels on things with colors. And I remember I was in line to try to get a Coke out of the Coke machine, and everybody started yelling at me, hurry the fuck up, and all that type of stuff. And I started crying because I couldn't tell the difference between a nickel and a quarter and a dime.
Oh my God!
Wow. And that's when So I just kind of went my own way with school, and my family is very educated and they're very smart, but I had a problem with learning. And it wasn't until after I got paralyzed that I learned that I was dyslexic.
Wow.
So school was hard for me. So my injury and the things that happened to me, it really gave me a better way of life. I wouldn't have been educated. I wouldn't be able to read or write a complete sentence.
So you were that bad, your dyslexia?
Not that bad. I couldn't retain information. I'd read something and it was really scrambled. I'd have to reread it over and over and over again. And it wasn't until one of my English instructors at Southeastern University, where he pulled me to the side and he saw my writing, and he asked me, he's like, you cannot have a complete thought. He's like, your writing's good, you got great stories, you just don't know how to put it down. And that's when he asked me to go see his friend, and that's when they ran the test on me and they found out I was partially dyslexic. So when Mr. Paul Crawford, he actually is the one that got me into wanting to write more and read more, and he helped me develop a style to study. And that was to relate everything with a personal story. That way I could not have to reread and be time efficient.
And it worked, obviously.
Oh, very much so. I ended up getting my bachelor's in history, and I graduated with a 3.58 cumulative GPA. I went on to go and start working on my master's at Tulane University in New Orleans. Really, really prestigious school. But decided to drop out in my master's program because my bodybuilding career was really excelling, and I wanted to see where I was going with that. I was still young, so.
I actually almost went to medical school at Tulane. I actually went for an interview there. I got in, and I didn't go because people warned me there's too much partying in New Orleans, and so I didn't go there. But it would look like a really fun school. Let me ask you this question. Let's go back to your injury for a minute. What was the official? What can you do and what can't you do? Let's talk about that.
I can do everything, but the common core knowledge of I can't dance with my feet, I can't run, I can't ride a bike with my legs. I can drive, but I have to use the hand controls. The things that I can't do are the things, I guess in a good way of explaining it, like, to be spontaneous. I'm engaged, and my fiance, I love her to death because she really has never judged me. She understands who I am and what I have to go through. So I can't be spontaneous romantic to a point of she gets home and I tell her, let's go to the beach, because I have to prepare for those things. Everything has to be so well thought out and well planned that I thought originally when I got injured, I wouldn't be able to ever get married. Who would want to be with somebody like me?
Point blank. Can you have sex with your girlfriend?
Absolutely. Let's put it this way, Dave. There's a reason why when I proposed to her, she said yes. Yeah, everything works normally, and it's very good. The love life is great.
So you have feeling down there, or it just works?
To a certain point. I have feeling where I know that I'm being aroused. I still have the release of the hormones for be horny and things like that, especially when it becomes erect. And then to go further into it, like I can still ejaculate and things like that. It's just I can't control those necessary things.
Gotcha.
So honestly, if somebody was like, well, I don't understand what he's talking about. Imagine when you were 13 again and you're in school and for some reason, you're tucking your tucking your ding dong into your waistband. Well, that just happens all the time. You just got to deal with it.
Well, that's not a bad thing either. So your girlfriend must be
No,
very
no,
happy.
no. Only when you're working out and you get on a flat bench and somebody's like, "Whoa, what's up, man?"
Now, how difficult is it to work out in the gym for you? Is it easy for you to get around? I mean, and what do you normally train? Like I know, obviously, training abdominals has to be a little tricky. What are the most difficult body parts for you to work it out in the gym?
Ooh, back. Back is probably the hardest thing for me. Uh, I'm sorry.
Stabilizing your body, is that the difficult?
Yes. The stabilization, the balance, the control. Um, the one thing that it was really difficult for me was learning how to adapt, learning how to improvise. How can I take a normal lat pull down and be able to still have that same type of angle, the same type of functionality of what the muscle's supposed to do without doing the necessary lat pull down. So I'd go to the gym on my days off from school when I first got paralyzed, and I would just sit there for hours and hours and watch people. I was like that creepy kid in the gym where I just eye you up and try to figure out what you were doing and how could I, use it to my advantage. So the one thing that I had to always do whenever I went to a gym is to find out if they had adjustable flat bench to incline, cables. That way I could invent my own type of system for working out.
I would assume you have to work out with someone. Do you have a training partner who goes to the gym with you?
If not really, I train by myself. Now I have to say this: majority of the time, I have a few guys that I trust, and I'm one of those type of people that I'm very scared to work out with just anybody. I need to know that the person I'm working out with understands why I'm doing certain things. If something happens to me, can they get me to the necessary medical needs? If I fall off a bench, they know how to pick me back up. So the people I train with, if I do train with them, they're my family. They're my so-called brothers. And I have a tattoo that represents the people in my life that aren't my blood, but really to me they are my blood.
What's the tattoo?
And it's and if you don't mind, if I could give them a shout out, I'd love to.
Yeah, sure.
Actually, the gentleman who contacted you about me, Ryan Stratton,
Sure.
He was always one of my biggest supporters, and the first time he ever saw me compete, he told me, he's like, "I believe in you, man." He's like, "You got a great look, great, you got to keep going." He's like, "Just add some more size, and we became very close friends. And he's my blood, he's my brother. Same thing with a gentleman, James Sledge. He stuck by me and understood, and he's very intelligent with nutrition and prep, and so I'd always go to him if I needed a real good set of eyes and a mind for it. And later I became friends and I'm actually going to be going to business with him, Greg Paulette. And same thing, he will stop his workout if he sees me in the gym just to make sure my workout is not being where I'm not being overtrained. That was how it kind of developed. Was these guys were the guys that you go to a bodybuilding show, and I'm just gonna be honest with it. It's a lot of these people are trying to ride your coattails. Always, if you do something for them, they always want something back. And the one thing I always told myself is that if I can't hang out with these people at my house, invite them to my birthday party, invite them to hang out with my family, I don't want to do anything with them. I don't want to see, I don't want to talk to them at a bodybuilding show.
Right. I
want these people to have the same passion and the same desire and the same love for what saved my life. I'm sorry.
How did bodybuilding save your life in a sense? Because you got this DWI. At what point did you say, I want to go to the gym? Where did that come in? How did that come into play?
When I became very ghostly and angry, not being able to do the things I love. I was always a gym rat. I started working out when I was 12 years old, and I'm 31 now. And it meant so much to me to be able to at least find something that I could do again. I mean, I love basketball. Can't really play that anymore, even though you can in a wheelchair. But to me, it's not the same. To be able to do a crossover behind the back, to be able to dunk. Can't play football. So the DWI showed me that I had to find a different outlet. I had to be smart about it. I can't go through life being stupid. I'm already in a wheelchair, and our life expectancy, if you don't have good medical, in the first 5 years, you could die. And that was a hard thing for me to live with. I'm not scared of death. It's just I haven't made a life yet. And that's what I was scared of, is that I wouldn't be able to make a life.
What happened to the brain tumor that you had? What went on with that? Do you still have it?
No. I got gamma knife radiation after I found out that I had it in 2005. But that radiation is now called cyberknife.
Okay.
And what it is it's pinpoint direct radiation. When you have a tumor, my tumor was embedded behind my optic nerve on the right side, which I'll have a scar right there. So the radiation wasn't able to work properly because it actually hit a lot of my optic nerve. I'm blind, and my peripheral on my right eye. So I just decided that, well, let's see what happens if the radiation stopped the growth or if it still continues. Well, luck wasn't in my favor, and the growth of the tumor continued. And that's when the same thing goes back to, I need to make a life. I didn't care anymore. I was going to live my life no matter what. I didn't care about the tumor anymore. If it killed me, it killed me. If it didn't, it didn't. So what? I'm going to do something with my life. But then it got really, really worse in the spring of 2010. It grew drastically, very significantly, to a point where it caused blackout spells in me. I'd wake up in the morning, and when I'd sit up and the blood would rush to my head, I would literally black out, and I'd be on the floor in the bathroom and have to get myself up. But it still wasn't a concern because it was very consistent only in the morning hours when I first initially woke up. But then it happened when I went to the gym. I get out the elevator, and the next thing I know, I wake up and I'm on the ground.
Oh boy.
And nobody was around. Nobody saw this. Nobody. It was the one time that nobody was really at the gym and nobody was really using the elevator and being lazy. And I picked myself up. I called my brother, and I told him what happened. He said, "Come home, man." So I went home. I explained to him what happened, and that's when they rushed me immediately to the hospital. And my brain surgeon, Dr. Kalikia, he then ran immediate emergency MRI. And that's when he basically explained to me, he's like, your tumor grew by an inch to almost an inch and a half. He said, that's what's causing the blackouts. He's putting too much pressure on your optic nerve in your brain. I asked him, well, and my mom and dad are crying, a bunch of sissies. And I asked him, I was like, Dr. Kalikia, I was like, when's your next available date for surgery? He's like, about 2 weeks. I said, good, let's set it up, let's go. He said, okay. So I had surgery on October 13th, 2010, which is the day after my birthday. And happy birthday to me. It was a success.
Wow.
Full removal, no residual. Surgery site healed great, very minor nerve damage. And I just went from there. He did a routine 6-month checkup. But recently, it was last year of 2015, early 2015, I think January. And I was having migraines again. I finally didn't have migraines, but the migraines came back. And I got very scared because the tumor was tested as benign. And it wasn't cancerous, but it was a very rare type of find in somebody of my age. That type of tumor I had is usually found more commonly in older males in their early 50s to mid 50s. The growth of mine was figured that it started growing when I was 16. So I was a young specimen for it. So again, immediately rushed to the hospital, set up the MRI, and everybody's nervous. Now I'm nervous because now this might actually tell me that I have cancer. Because my mom's side of the family, they're more prone to cancer, like breast cancer and things like that. So the results come. Dr. Clickett walks in with a butterfingers. He's like, Kyle, you good, man? He's like, everything looks great. He's like, I mean, really, honestly, the surgery site is beautiful. He said, there's not a lot of scar tissue. He goes, you can't be stressed out. He said, when you get stressed out, he's like, your blood boils. He's like, just, it goes all to that site for some reason. And that's when your migraines start. And I was like, oh, man, no shit. I was like, okay, cool. I was like, well, doc, I was like, can I have a bite of your butterfingers then? He gave me butterfingers, and I went on my way.
And no problems since then?
And no problem since then.
So
I always get.
Let's recap for a second. Concussions, broken bones, as a kid, you get paralyzed, you get diagnosed with a brain tumor, you become an alcoholic, you get a DWI, you beat the cancer, you get back into the gym. When you get that first workout into the gym, did you know, man, I'm in the right place? Did it all like hit home at that point?
Yes, and I can tell you, I don't remember the day, but I know it was during the weekday, maybe a Wednesday or Thursday if I had to take a guess. But I knew it was around 7 p.m. And the reason why I know that is I waited until the gym cleared out when there wasn't a lot of people, because I was nervous, I was embarrassed. I didn't know how people were going to look at me, and I got on the bench, and I remember doing just the bar, and it didn't feel right. I felt weak, and it just turned. I mean, it clicked in me. It just turned me into this whole different type of person where I didn't want to leave until I could get 135, and I was there for hours until I guess the nighttime shift walked up and they kicked me out, and that was when I knew I was back. I knew what I wanted to do. I knew why I wanted to do it, and I knew what I didn't want to do anymore. The alcohol, man, you know what? I like a good glass of whiskey every once in a while. I like a good glass of wine, but I don't need it. I don't want it. What I do want is I want that gym. I want the sound of the weights. I want to know that what I'm doing is for a good cause, motivating people, inspiring people, and to just motivate and inspire myself to always never be average. I mean, I want something good for myself, my family. I want something good to come out of this. But so to me to say, you know what, I'm okay with just being healthy at 150. That's not good enough for me. I want the #1 title. I want the respect. I want people to know that I put my hours in and I earned that shit. I earned the title of IFBB Pro. It wasn't given to me. I battled those guys just as hard as they battled me. And it was a deserving call where we became a brotherhood, we became friends, we became family. And knowing that first time that I got back in the gym led to this, I have no regrets. I mean, it probably saved my life.
Did save your life without a doubt. I mean, you won in 2007, 8, and in 2007 and 8, you won the Wheelchair USA Lightweight title. 2010, you won the Wheelchair Nationals Lightweight and the USA Lightweight. 2012, you got the overall win at the USA, and obviously that earned you your pro card, I'm assuming. What does it mean to be an IFBB Pro? I mean, it's a status reserved for like the elite of our sport. It has to be the greatest diploma probably you've ever received, I would assume.
Yeah, Dave, you have no idea, man. So I can't remember who did it, but there was an interview done with me, and the interview had to be cut short because I just became too emotional. And that same question was asked to me, like, what did it mean? And but this time, yeah, I'm still gonna get emotional. It ever since I was a little kid, I dreamed of only one thing, and that was being a professional athlete. I didn't care what it came in. I didn't care how I got it, how hard I had to train, the hours I had to put in, the broken bones, the replacement knee surgery, the concussions, everything. I did not care. I knew what I wanted, and I was going to get it. When I got paralyzed, I thought I lost that chance. But then Brad Borland came into my life and told me about wheelchair bodybuilding. I went and saw a show, and I saw what those guys were doing. And I knew what I want to do. I mean, these guys, their diet had to be perfect, their training had to be perfect, their posing had to be perfect. I wanted it. But there was no pro card available at the time. But in the back of my mind, I knew that sooner or later, there has to be a pro card for us. That these guys just look too good. These guys look great. And when I got that pro card, I was speechless. I was stunned. Literally, it was like my Garden of Eden. It was my paradise, but it didn't hit home yet. It meant so much to me that I turned against. I didn't turn against. That's a bad word to use. I turned away from my family, even though they knew what I was doing. They understood. They supported me, but I wouldn't go to birthday dinners. I wouldn't go to weddings. I wouldn't go, I'd show up for Christmas dinner, but I'd leave early to go to the gym. New Year's Eve night, everybody's drinking and partying. I'm in the gym working out. And who can really say that they live in their dream? A real dream, a childhood dream. Fuck, man, I'm living it.
Good question, Kyle. You're going to be up on stage at the Arnold Classic in 6 weeks. Arnold Schwarzenegger, I'm sure, will be there. It's going to be a huge accolade for you just to be up there. We don't know how you'll do, obviously, till the show takes place. But my question is, when you get something taken away from you the way you did in terms of the accident and being paralyzed, obviously you indulged more in an intellectual aspect of your life. Now you're back to the physical aspect. Moving forward into the future, 10 years from now, 15 years from now, what will you do to get that same sense of satisfaction that you get from competing in bodybuilding now?
Being a father.
Is that what you're looking forward to? I just had my first son 2 weeks ago, so I'm 47 years old, and it's like a whole new life now for me. It's like something new to look forward to. I can completely relate to that.
Congratulations, man. It's really congratulations to you. It's something that I never thought I coached T-ball 4, 5, and 6. I was one of the only coaches that actually took on 4-year-olds. I mentor a lot of kids in the community where if they go to college and they bring me their semester grades, and if they have a 3.2 or higher, I'll take them to any restaurant they want, only if their parents agree to it. Knowing shit, man.
Sorry.
Knowing that the fertility of a male when they get paralyzed it's cut down drastically. And what I mean by that is you're not sterile. Sometimes you can, depending on the site of injury. But the swimmers, the seamen they're weaker, so it's harder for them to travel. I
got a great protocol I'll give you. If I got my wife pregnant, you get anyone pregnant, believe me. I'll send it to you after the show, believe me.
I'd love it. But
we'll get them swimming, I promise you. That I can help you with.
I tell you what, I know there'll be a better swimming than me. If I go into a pool, I'm like a little cork, man. I just flip upside down. That's why I wear Dickies when I swim. But the satisfaction to get that feeling of what the pro card meant to me, really, man, to have my family, to be a good provider for them, to be able to, give my fiance, my future wife, a home, to give my kids a good home, to be there for them. Because I can say this, that I'm a lucky one, man. I had very, very good supporting parents, always there for me. My dad worked shift work for the oil company, but he always made every sporting event for me. And if I can give that to my kids, that would be better than a damn pro card, man.
I hear you. I definitely hear you on that one. Talk to me about Nick Scott for a minute, because Nick Scott was a big influence on the wheelchair bodybuilding landscape, so to speak. He kind of changed it. How did he influence you?
He influenced me to not stop. Knowing knowing his vision, knowing where he wanted to go, it made me understand that he needed everybody. It wasn't just about him, even though he was the forefront. It was about all of us joining forces and competing together. Yes, we compete against each other on the scorecard, because we're individualized. But at the end of the day, there's not a lot of us. There's not a lot of pros. There's not a lot of amateur bodybuilders. I mean, they're getting more. But when we first started, there wasn't a lot of us, and we had to band together. We were the new band of brothers that if we didn't show up at a show, since there's not a lot of us, people will stop listening. People will stop caring. We had to keep that image in their heads, and we almost had to burn it in their optics for them to finally have their eyes open and see what we're capable of. That, look, we're just the same. We're just the same.
Talk to me Kyle, talk to me a little bit about the death of one of your compatriots there recently, very sadly, Roger Spina, who is a great champion in the wheelchair division, terrific physique. We lost him a couple weeks ago. The cause of death hasn't really been released, but I know a lot of people were very saddened by his death. Can you give us any insight into him as a person and maybe what you might have heard happened?
I can say this, that Roger was a good friend, and he was even greater as a role model. The things that since we live so far away, and Facebook is such a good media to keep in touch and to watch what everybody's doing. But he was such an advocate for bodybuilding, he really did, change the area that he was in for people to understand that, wheelchair bodybuilding exists, what we're doing. And he was a forefront runner for it. He was so humble, so positive. He laughed about everything. His smile. He was a good friend to me, and and I still remember, the first time I competed against him. Sharing candy, chit chatting, joking around, and then they saw the tattoo on my back, and they made a joke that it's gonna that will probably make me lose and things like that. Which hey, it does, but that tattoo symbolism to me, and it's a sad day that we lost one of our soldiers, man. We lost one of our friends, our family. It hurt me. It wasn't until when I heard about it, I didn't believe it first, because I knew how healthy he was. I knew how active he was. And I knew I knew that he was, he's such a happy man. But then when you saw the waterfall of these messages, rest in peace, miss you, it really hit home. And, it made me look at my life a little different. That with our medical conditions, we go to sleep and we might have a blood clot in our leg that gets released and it stops our heart while we're sleeping. We don't know. And it's one of the things that you got to prepare your psyche for. It's disturbing in a way to think that I could go to sleep tonight and I might not wake up tomorrow. But I can say this, is that man, Roger, he had no regrets. He lived a life. He made a life. And to that, I respect him solely and dearly.
Well, Kyle, we're going to see you up on that Arnold stage. My last question for you is, obviously, let's fantasize for a minute. Let's assume that you earned the title of Arnold Classic Wheelchair Champion. You're up on that stage. Arnold Schwarzenegger comes up on stage and asks you, to make a statement. What would you say to Arnold? if you had the opportunity?
First, I'd have to give him his respect. I'd tell him thank you. You know, for him to allow us to and agree to it and be an advocate and promote it for us to get our dream. If anything, I don't know if he'll allow it. I'd give him a kiss on his lips, man. I'd make out with him. Yeah. But I'd tell him thank you, and for that, I will always have his back. And if he ever need anything or ever needed me to do anything, I would, no questions asked. Giving us the opportunity to take our division and to help out the sport and help out the cause. I'd love to have the title. I want the title, but I never really was asked that. I was never asked that question. Knowing now how far all of us came, I'd give it to them all. We're all a champion. And you know, yeah, it's individualized. Yes, we're one person. But the honor class wouldn't be possible if all of us didn't do it together.
That's true. It's true. Well, you know, Kyle, you're a true testament to the fact that, you know, hard work, persistence, believing in yourself, you know, not letting the negative get you down and take you out, so to speak. With that belief in yourself, anything is possible, and you're a living testament to that. You went from the bottom of the barrel, so to speak. You're going to be competing on the Arnold Classic stage, one of the most elite stages in the bodybuilding world, in 6 weeks from now. And we want to wish you the best of luck from RX Muscle. We'll be there rooting you on, and hopefully we'll be interviewing you in the winner's circle.
Absolutely. I can't thank y'all enough, man. I loved every minute of this.
Thank you very much. And that takes us to the end of another episode of Live With, brought to you by Species Nutrition. I'm Dave Palumbo. We'll see you next week.